The MH-60 Blackhawk shudders as rounds punch through its tail section, alarm system screaming warnings the pilots already knew. Sergeant Maya Reeves grips her medical bag while 8 operators return fire through open doors. "Brace for impact," the pilot shouts, fighting controls that no longer respond. They hit hard, skids collapsing, fuselage twisting, men thrown against bulkheads. Maya checks herself. Functional. She looks up. The team medic lies motionless, neck bent wrong. Outside, voices shout in Pashto. Weapons charge. The operators are trapped, wounded, and their only medic is dead. Then Maya reaches for the rifle. 20 minutes earlier, the Blackhawk had been cruising smoothly through Syrian airspace at 200 feet, hugging terrain where radar coverage thins to nothing. Staff Sergeant Maya Reeves sits with her medical pack between her boots, watching 8 Special Forces operators check weapons in the red-lit cabin. The desert stretches below them like crumpled paper, all shadows and sharp edges in the pre-dawn darkness. The helicopter's interior smells of hydraulic fluid and gun oil. Maya counts her supplies for the 3rd time. Tourniquets, chest seals, hemostatic gauze, IV kits. Everything a combat medic needs to keep people alive in places designed for dying. "You ever jump into a hot LZ before, Doc?" Sergeant First Class Derek Mason calls over the rotor noise. He's the team's assistant leader, built like a fire hydrant with a Brooklyn accent that never quite left him. "Twice," Maya replies, not looking up from her pack. "Yeah? Where at?" "Classified." Mason grins at his teammates. "Classified means she rode along on some colonel's dog and pony show. You just patch holes, right? Leave the shooting to us." A few chuckles ripple through the cabin. Maya says nothing. She learned years ago that certain battles aren't worth fighting. Not with words. The mission brief had been straightforward enough. Extract a high-value target from a compound 12 kilometers into hostile territory. 6 hours in, 6 hours out. Minimal resistance expected. Maya has heard that assessment before. She packed extra gauze. Master Sergeant Cole Harrison, the team leader, watches Maya from across the cabin. In 4 deployments, he has worked with 9 different medics. Most were competent. Some were exceptional. But something about Reeves is different. The way she secures her gear has precision beyond standard training. The way her eyes scan the cabin is not passive observation, but active threat assessment. 2 minutes, the crew chief announces. The team stands. Weapons come up. Night vision mounts click into place. Maya rises with them, movements economical and practiced. She touches each pouch on her vest. Medical supplies, yes, but also spare batteries, energy bars, water, and a knife with a 4-inch blade strapped to her right thigh. "Stay close to Garcia," Harrison tells her, gesturing to the team's junior member. "If contact happens, you hit the ground and let us work." "Understood, sir." The Blackhawk begins its descent toward the landing zone, a flat stretch of desert 3 kilometers from the target compound. Maya feels her pulse steady, feels the old training surface despite years of trying to bury it. Breathing control, sight pictures, immediate action drills for weapon malfunctions. She pushes those thoughts down. That's not who she is anymore. The orders were clear. That's when the sky lights up. Tracer rounds arc toward them from 3 positions, a perfect ambush triangle. The helicopter banks hard, the pilot's voice urgent over the intercom. "Taking fire! Multiple shooters!" The crew chiefs on both sides open up with their door-mounted M240s, red tracers reaching back toward the muzzle flashes below. Mason leans out, adding his rifle to the suppressive fire. The helicopter shudders as rounds punch through the tail boom. "Hydraulics failing," the pilot shouts. "We're going down." The world tilts. Maya grabs a cargo strap as the Blackhawk spins, losing altitude fast. Through the open door, she sees the ground rushing up, sees the compound they were supposed to infiltrate now lit up like a fortress, sees the trap they've flown into. The impact is catastrophic. The skids hit first, collapsing instantly. The fuselage slams down hard, throwing unsecured personnel against bulkheads. Metal screams. Someone else screams too. The helicopter skids sideways, tearing itself apart, finally coming to rest at a 45-degree angle. Maya's head rings. Her left shoulder throbs where she hit something. She runs a mental checklist. Fingers move. Toes move. Vision clear. Functional. Around her, men groan and struggle to orient. The crew chief on the right side isn't moving. The left side crew chief clutches his leg, blood spreading fast. Mason has a gash across his forehead, blood sheeting down his face. Maya looks to the front of the cabin where Doc Martinez, the team's designated medic, had been sitting. He lies crumpled against the bulkhead, neck bent at an angle that tells her everything she needs to know. Dead on impact. Outside, voices shout in Arabic. Engines rev. Weapons charge. Harrison's voice cuts through the chaos. All elements sound off. The responses come scattered but present. 8 operators accounted for. 1 pilot with a broken arm. 1 co-pilot unconscious. 2 crew chiefs. 1 critical. 1 team medic dead. Maya moves without thinking, pulling her medical pack free, crawling to the wounded crew chief. Femoral artery compromised. She applies a tourniquet high and tight, hands performing steps her mind no longer needs to consciously direct. "Contact front!" someone shouts. Automatic weapons fire rakes the helicopter's exterior. Rounds punch through the thin aluminum skin. Harrison returns fire through the shattered windscreen. Mason, despite the blood in his eyes, engages targets from the side door. "We need to move!" Harrison shouts. "This bird's a death trap." But move where? They're surrounded in the open with wounded who can't walk. Maya finishes with the tourniquet and looks up. That's when she sees Doc Martinez's rifle lying 3 feet away, thrown clear during the crash. Before we continue, if stories of quiet dignity and unsung heroes resonate with you, tell me where you're watching from. This story reminds us that true strength often hides behind the most unexpected faces. I read every comment. The compound sits 400 meters east. Close enough to see figures moving. Hear orders being shouted. Watch as trucks disgorge armed fighters. What intelligence had called a lightly defended target now reveals itself as something else entirely. This was never an extraction mission. This was an ambush. The desert around them offers minimal cover. Rocky outcroppings dot the landscape, too far to reach under fire. The nearest structure is a half-collapsed mud brick wall 50 meters north, barely chest-high. The helicopter itself provides the only substantial protection, and it's rapidly becoming a bullet-riddled coffin. Dawn begins to gray the eastern horizon. The temperature, cool during their flight, will climb past 100 degrees within hours. The air already shimmers with heat rising from sand that will soon be hot enough to burn through boot soles. Mason wipes blood from his eyes for the 3rd time. "Boss, we got maybe 12 hostiles visible, probably twice that moving up from the compound." Harrison keys his radio, nothing but static. The crash destroyed their primary communication system. He tries the backup, more static. They're alone. Maya works on the co-pilot, who's regained consciousness but has a deep laceration across his scalp. Blood soaks his flight suit. She irrigates the wound, applies pressure, talks him through the shock that wants to shut him down. "Stay with me, Captain. You're going to be fine. What's your name?" "Rhodes. Captain Mark Rhodes." His voice shakes. "Okay, Mark. I need you to hold this gauze right here. Can you do that?" He nods, hands trembling but functional. Maya moves to the next casualty, the unconscious crew chief. Pupils unequal. Likely concussion, possibly worse. She stabilizes his neck, ensures his airway is clear, marks him for close monitoring. An RPG streaks past the helicopter, impacting 20 meters beyond them. The explosion showers them with dirt and rocks. The fighters are finding their range. "We can't stay here," Garcia says, his voice tight. He's the youngest, 23, on his 2nd deployment. His hands grip his rifle so hard his knuckles are white. Harrison is already calculating. Maya can see it in his eyes, the math of impossible choices. Wounded who can't move, no transportation, no communication. Enemy force growing by the minute, ammunition that won't last. "We move to that wall," Harrison decides. "It's not much, but it's better than this. We'll carry the wounded. Combat effective personnel establish a perimeter. Maya, you set up a casualty collection point behind the wall." "Sir," she starts. "That's an order, Sergeant. You're medical. You save lives. We'll handle the shooting. Maya wants to argue, wants to tell him that the wall is a temporary solution, that they'll be overrun within an hour without support. Wants to tell him she can do more than save lives. But the orders were clear 2 years ago, and they're clear now. They move in bounds. 4 operators sprint to the wall while 4 provide covering fire from the helicopter. Then they switch. Maya and the walking wounded come last, dragging and carrying those who can't move on their own. Bullets kick up sand around Maya's feet. She keeps moving, keeps dragging the crew chief whose weight seems to double with every meter. Her shoulder screams where she hit it during the crash. She ignores it. They reach the wall. It's even less impressive up close. Crumbling mud brick barely 4 feet high in places, with gaps that offer little protection. But it's something. Harrison positions his shooters to cover the most likely approach routes. Mason, despite his head wound, takes the northern sector. Garcia covers east. 2 more operators cover south and west. Maya establishes her aid station in a slight depression behind the wall, where the ground offers a few extra inches of protection. She organizes her supplies by priority. Hemorrhage control closest, airway management next, fluids and medications behind that. The enemy probes their position with sporadic fire, testing, learning. In the growing daylight, Maya counts at least 15 fighters visible, with more arriving. They're not rushing in. They don't need to. Time is on their side. Harrison's jaw tightens. He's seeing the same math Maya is. His fingers drum against his rifle's receiver. Once, twice, 3 times. A tell. He's out of good options. The sun clears the horizon, turning the desert into a furnace. Within an hour, the temperature climbs to 95 degrees. The operators rotate water, careful to conserve what they have. Maya administers IV fluids to the crew chief, whose condition hasn't improved. Captain Rhodes holds pressure on his head wound, but blood continues to seep through the gauze. "How's your ammunition?" Harrison asks his team during a lull in enemy fire. The responses come in grim sequence. Mason has 4 magazines. Garcia has 3. The others average 3 to 4 each, maybe 800 rounds total against an enemy force that seems to be growing by the hour. Maya says nothing. She carries no rifle. Those were her orders. But she's counting anyway. Counting the rhythm of enemy fire. Counting the patterns of their movement. Counting the distance between their positions and the wall. Old habits. Muscle memory from another life. They're calling for more people, Mason observes. "See that?" He points to a figure with a radio, gesturing animatedly near the compound. "They're bringing everyone they can get." "How long until they rush us?" Garcia asks. "Couple hours maybe," Harrison replies. "They'll wait until we're cooked and exhausted. Then they'll come." Maya checks Doc Martinez's body, still in the helicopter wreckage. She retrieves his rifle, an M4 carbine, standard issue. She also takes his ammunition, his spare magazines, his medical supplies. She distributes the medical supplies among her own. The rifle and ammunition she sets aside, just in case. "You know how to use that?" Mason asks, watching her. "I've qualified," Maya replies, which is true. Also insufficient. Qualified doesn't capture the thousands of rounds she's put down range. Doesn't describe the muscle memory that could strip and reassemble an M4 in 18 seconds blindfolded. Doesn't convey the small matter of her previous role, before the incident, before the review board, before her carefully negotiated reassignment. "Good," Mason says. "Stay behind us and you'll be fine." The enemy fire increases. They're testing sectors, finding weak points. A burst stitches across the top of the wall, forcing Garcia to duck. Another burst kicks up sand near Captain Rhodes, making him flinch. The crew chief groans, his level of consciousness dropping. Maya performs another assessment. His pupils are more unequal now. Pressure building in his skull. He needs a hospital. He needs a neurosurgeon. He needs things she cannot provide behind a crumbling wall in the Syrian desert. "Sorry, Doc," Rhodes whispers. "Guess we messed up your quiet day. Save your strength." "You scared?" Maya meets his eyes. "Yes. It's true, though not in the way he imagines." She's scared of what will happen when the ammunition runs out. Scared of what orders she'll follow or ignore when the enemy comes over that wall. Scared of the person she used to be, the person she promised not to be again. A round cracks past her head, close enough to feel the pressure wave. She doesn't flinch. The operators notice. "You've been shot at before," Mason says. It's not a question. "Yes." "Where?" "Places that aren't on any map." Before he can press further, an RPG streaks toward them. "Down!" Harrison shouts. The explosion hits the wall 10 feet from Maya's position. The blast wave slams into her, filling her mouth with dirt. Her ears ring. Through the dust and smoke, she sees a section of their wall has collapsed. Sees enemy fighters beginning to advance, using the dust as cover. Mason engages, dropping 2. Garcia gets another. But more keep coming. They're not rushing yet, just probing, just seeing how much fight the Americans have left. Not enough, Maya thinks. Not nearly enough. She looks at Doc Martinez's rifle again. Looks at her hands. Looks at the math that doesn't add up. 3 years ago, Maya Reeves stood on a different piece of hostile ground, watching a different enemy through different optics. She was Staff Sergeant Reeves then, 75th Ranger Regiment, 3rd Battalion. She had graduated Ranger School in the top 15% of her class, had earned expert ratings on every weapon system the Army issued, had completed sniper school and military freefall training, had deployed twice to Iraq, once to Afghanistan. She was good at what she did. Some said exceptional. The mission was hostage rescue. 4 aid workers held in a compound outside Mosul. Intelligence indicated minimal guards, quick in and out. The rules of engagement were explicit. Weapons free only if directly engaged. Political considerations. International optics. The careful dance of modern warfare where lawyers sometimes matter more than bullets. Maya's team set up overwatch positions on the surrounding buildings. Through her scope, she watched the compound. Watched the guards make lazy patrols. Watched the hostages, visible through a window. 4 people whose faces she memorized without meaning to. Then the order came down. Hold position. Don't engage. A diplomatic solution was being negotiated. Maya held position. She watched diplomacy work its magic. She watched the guards pull the first hostage into the courtyard. Watched him forced to his knees. Watched the guard raise his pistol to the man's head. "Command, we have execution in progress," her team leader reported. "Request weapons free." "Negative. Hold your fire. Negotiations are ongoing." Maya watched the hostage die. Watched them bring out the second. Then the third. The math was simple. 4 hostages. 1 already dead. 3 remained. Time required for diplomatic solution. Unknown. Time until all hostages were dead. Approximately 4 minutes. "Permission to engage," her team leader repeated, voice tight. "Negative. I repeat. Negative. You are not cleared hot." Maya made a choice. 3 shots. 3 guards down. The 4th hostage lived. So did the other 6 hostages they found inside. Intelligence had undercounted. She saved 10 lives that day. She also violated a direct order. The review board convened within a week. The proceedings were clinical. Maya admitted everything. She had disobeyed orders. She had engaged without authorization. She had prioritized her tactical assessment over command guidance. She showed no remorse because she felt none. "You lack the judgment for operational roles," the board concluded. "You interpret rules of engagement too creatively. You make decisions above your authority level." The deal they offered was simple. Accept reassignment to medical services or face separation from service. She chose medical. Spent 6 months learning to save lives instead of taking them. Learned to wrap her warrior instincts in healer's clothing. The orders were explicit. Medical capacity only. No combat operations. No weapons carry except immediate self-defense. You can maintain your skills on your own time, but you will not employ them professionally. Maya had followed those orders for 14 months, right up until today. Behind the wall, she checks the crew chief again. His breathing has become irregular. His skin is ashen. Time is running out for him and for all of them. People see what they expect to see. a medic with a bag of bandages, a woman in a support role. They miss the warrior underneath because they never learned to look past appearances. They miss the thousands of hours of training, the combat experience, the skills that don't disappear just because someone writes new orders. The enemy doesn't care about her orders. The enemy will come over that wall and kill everyone here regardless of what role she's supposed to play. Mason fires another burst, drops another fighter. His magazine runs dry. He reloads, his third to last. The math keeps getting worse. At 09:47 hours, the enemy launches a coordinated assault. They've spent the last hour positioning forces, establishing fire support, preparing to overrun the wall with overwhelming numbers. Now they commit. Automatic weapons fire erupts from 3 directions simultaneously. RPGs streak toward the American position in rapid succession. The first explodes against the wall, the second overshoots. The third hits the helicopter wreckage, detonating the remaining fuel. The fireball climbs 40 feet into the sky. The shockwave knocks everyone down. Maya feels the heat wash over her, feels debris rain down. She rolls to her side, checks herself. Still functional. But Garcia isn't. The explosion threw him backward into rocks. He lies motionless, bleeding from his ears. Mason crawls to him, shaking him, getting no response. "Man down! Garcia's out!" Enemy fighters pour through the dust and smoke. 40 meters away. 30. 20. Harrison engages on full automatic, burning through a magazine in 3 seconds. 2 fighters drop, but more keep coming. Too many. Always too many. Mason tries to cover the left flank while treating Garcia. Can't do both effectively. Does neither well. Another operator, Vasquez, takes a round through his shoulder, goes down hard, rolls behind the wall, cursing steadily, trying to reach his rifle with his one good arm. The crew chief stops breathing. Captain Rhodes looks at Maya, blood still seeping through the gauze on his head. "This is it, isn't it?" "Yes," she says. Lying seems pointless. An enemy fighter appears at the wall's edge, AK-47 rising. Harrison tries to swing his rifle around, but he's reloading, hands moving fast but not fast enough. Maya sees it happen in the slow motion of crisis, sees the enemy's barrel come up, sees his finger move to the trigger, sees Harrison's eyes widen with the knowledge that he's 1 second too slow. She moves without thinking. Doc Martinez's rifle is in her hands. The weight feels like coming home. Safety to fire. Sight picture acquired. Breathing controlled. Trigger press gradual and perfect. The shot takes the fighter in the upper chest. He falls backward off the wall. The desert goes silent except for the ringing in everyone's ears. Every operator stares at Maya. Not at the fact that she fired. At how she fired. The stance. The economy of movement. The single shot placed exactly where it needed to go. "Who the hell are you?" Harrison asks quietly. Maya doesn't answer. 3 more fighters are coming over the wall. She engages them. 6 shots, 3 down. She moves to a different position, knowing that muzzle flash gives away location, knowing that static shooters are dead shooters. 3 o'clock, she calls, and Vasquez shifts to cover it despite his wounded shoulder, because in that moment he's taking orders from their medic without question. The enemy attack already committed can't easily reverse. More fighters pour through the breach they've created in the wall. Maya meets them with precision fire. Not spraying, not panic shooting, but the controlled violence of someone who has done this before and done it well. She drops to one knee beside Mason. "Can you shoot?" "Yeah." "Cover the gap, slow and steady. Make them think twice." He does as instructed because Maya's voice carries the authority of someone who belongs in this chaos, someone who understands its rhythms and rules. An RPG streaks toward them. Maya sees it coming, drops flat, pulls Rhodes down with her. The explosion tears through their medical supplies. Debris showers down. Something hot slices across Maya's left forearm. She ignores it, acquiring her next target, servicing it with 2 rounds, moving to the next. The enemy fire begins to slacken. They expected a massacre. Instead, they're taking casualties, their attack disrupted by accurate fire from unexpected sources. Harrison watches all of this while returning fire, his mind trying to reconcile the medic he brought on this mission with the operator, currently directing his team's defense. Questions can come later. Right now, they're staying alive. That's enough. Maya moves through the defensive position with the confidence of someone reading a language she once spoke fluently. She identifies firing sectors, redistributes ammunition from those who can't shoot to those who can. Her medical training merges with her combat training, a hybrid skill set that makes her simultaneously lethal and healing. "Vasquez, can you move?" she asks the wounded operator. Shoulders screwed, can't aim worth a damn. She checks his wound, through and through. Missed the major vessels. You can shoot if you brace against the wall. Here. She positions him where he can stabilize his rifle against the mud brick. Single shots. Take your time. The enemy regroups 100 meters out. They're arguing. Maya can't hear the words but reads the body language. Some want to press the attack. Others have lost the appetite for it. "They didn't expect this," she says. "They're reconsidering the cost." "Will they break off?" Harrison asks. "No, but they'll be more cautious. That buys us time." "Time for what?" Mason asks, because they all know there's no cavalry coming, no extraction plan, no communication with command. But time is still a commodity worth having. Maya uses it to check every wounded man. Garcia has a severe concussion, but might survive if they can get him to a hospital. The crew chief died while she was fighting. She marks his body, continues on. Captain Rhodes's head wound has finally clotted. Vasquez can still function despite his shoulder. She's reloading magazines from Martinez's spare ammunition when Harrison approaches. "Report," he says. Maya gives him a concise tactical summary. Enemy strength, disposition, probable courses of action. She speaks the language of operations orders, of military decision-making, of someone who has attended the same schools as the men around her. When she finishes, Harrison studies her for a long moment. "What happened to you, Maya?" "I made a choice. They decided it was wrong. I got reassigned." "From what to medical?" "From operational to medical." The weight of that statement hangs between them. Operational means shooter, means someone on the assault force, means someone trusted with the most dangerous tasks. "Why didn't you tell us?" Would it have mattered? The orders were clear. "I'm medical personnel. I patch holes. I don't make them." "You're making them now." Maya looks at the rifle in her hands, this tool she promised not to use again. "Yes, sir, I am." The enemy launches one more probe, a half-hearted attempt that Maya and the team repel within seconds. After that, they settle into waiting. Waiting for the Americans to run out of water, waiting for them to run out of ammunition, waiting for heat exhaustion to make them soft. At 11:34 hours, Mason sees it first. "Aircraft! 2 o'clock!" 2 Apache helicopters appear on the horizon, flying low and fast. Someone noticed they were missing. Someone tracked their last known position. Someone sent the cavalry after all. The Apaches make one pass, their 30mm cannons devastating the enemy positions. Fighters scatter, running for vehicles, for cover, for anywhere that isn't under those guns. A Black Hawk follows, a rescue bird, door gunners scanning for threats. It circles once, identifies the survivors, comes in fast. "Load the wounded!" Harrison shouts. They move together. Maya helps carry Garcia to the helicopter. Then Vasquez. Then Captain Rhodes. The bodies they'll recover later when the area is secure. "You coming?" The crew chief shouts at Maya over the rotor noise. She looks back at the wall they defended, at the brass casings scattered around her medical supplies, at the rifle still in her hands. "Yeah," she says, "I'm coming." But she's different now than when she arrived. They all know it. 3 days later, Maya stands outside Colonel Richard Brennan's office at FOB Sentinel, her uniform pressed, her mind calm. She has spent the intervening time treating the wounded, debriefing with various levels of command, and preparing for this moment. The door opens. "Come in, Reeves." Brennan's office is sparse. Photos of deployments past, commendations, the memorabilia of a career spent in hard places. He gestures to a chair. She sits. "I've read the reports," Brennan begins. "All of them. The team leader's account, the individual statements, the tactical analysis from intelligence. You violated the terms of your reassignment. The terms were clear. Medical duties only. No combat operations. You not only engaged in combat, you directed it. You made tactical decisions. You commanded experienced operators. Yes, sir. Do you have anything to say in your defense? Maya meets his eyes. No, sir. My actions speak for themselves. If the consequence is separation from service, I accept that. But I won't say I was wrong. Brennan leans back. 2 years ago, you were one of the most promising operators in the Ranger Regiment. Your instructors said you had unlimited potential. Then you made a choice on that hostage rescue. You killed 3 men despite orders to hold fire. They were executing unarmed civilians, sir. I know. The review board decided you were too aggressive, too willing to interpret rules of engagement creatively. They said you lacked the judgment for operational roles. I disagreed then. I disagree now. This is new information. Maya hasn't heard this before. I recommended keeping you operational, Brennan continues. I was outvoted. I thought medical service would give you a way to contribute while keeping you out of situations where your tendency to prioritize mission success over policy compliance would create problems. I was wrong. He pulls a folder from his desk. This morning I received a request from Special Operations Command. They want to establish a new program. Combat medics with prior operational experience who can serve dual roles when circumstances require. They want you to help build it. Maya's heart rate increases, but her expression stays neutral. I'm recommending approval, Brennan says, with conditions, additional training in their protocols, counseling to ensure you understand when to follow orders and when to exercise initiative, a clear framework for when you're a medic and when you're an operator. Those terms are acceptable, sir. Brennan stands, offers his hand. Don't prove them right about you, Maya. Prove me right. She shakes his hand firmly. I will, sir. 6 months later, Maya Reeves sits in a briefing room in a location she cannot discuss, listening to mission parameters for an operation she cannot describe. Around her sit operators from multiple special operations units. They're planning something that will require medical expertise, tactical precision, and someone willing to make hard choices. She's still a medic, still carries gauze and tourniquets, still knows how to save lives under impossible conditions, but now she also carries a rifle, and when circumstances require, she's authorized to use it. The team leader finishes the briefing. Questions? Maya raises her hand. Rules of engagement, sir? Defensive force authorized. Offensive action requires my direct approval. Clear rules, clear authority. Clear understanding of when to ask and when to act. After the briefing, as the team conducts equipment checks, the team leader approaches her. I read about Syria, about what you did with Harrison's team. It was necessary. I know. That's why you're here. Because when it's necessary, you do what needs doing. Just remember, follow the orders when you can. Break them only when you have to. That night, Maya cleans her rifle with the same care she organizes her medical supplies. Both are tools of her trade now, both necessary, both part of who she is. The Army tried to make her choose between warrior and healer, tried to split her into pieces that fit their administrative categories. She proved some people can't be split. Some people are meant to be whole. The people who protect us most are often the ones we never see clearly. The missions that save lives are the ones that never make the news. And sometimes the quietest voice in the room is the one that changed everything. To everyone who shared where you're watching from, thank you for recognizing those who serve in silence. Subscribe for more stories of unsung American heroes who prove that true greatness needs no announcement. See you in the next one.